Hi, this is Christopher with JohnJ.net. I have a great pleasure of sitting here with Summer Glau. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So is it true that we could have easily been sitting here talking about your life as a pink Power Ranger?
So close. That was my first really big audition when I first came to LA, and it was between me and another girl, and I guess there was just something about me that wasn't quite ready to be the pink Power Ranger.
Wasn't ready. We weren't ready for Ranger status.
I was really excited though. That was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
When I first came to LA.
Well, I guess so. And the Power Rangers were extremely popular at the time, so it would be kind of a big deal.
I would have been in good company.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
If I can ask you a little bit, this is something I could ask you because you're kind of uniquely qualified because of the characters that you've played and their emotional states, which have run the gamut from, you know, Firefly, you were everything from, you know, the calm and demure to the forensic and frightened, and then, of course, the very stoic Terminator and everything. So as an actress, is it harder for you to find that, you know, the abject fear or something that you might have had in Firefly, or the suppressing all the emotions when you're filming a series like Terminator?
I think Terminator was a little more challenging for me at first.
Mm-hmm.
Once I had done the pilot and spoken a lot to Josh Friedman and David Nutter and some of the other producers about the direction that we wanted to take Cameron, then I started to get really comfortable, and then by the second season I felt like she was part of me. But for River, that was really my first big job.
Right.
And I remember when I auditioned for it, I only had 2 pages of sides. I didn't know the script. I didn't have really any idea of what the direction was for River. And when I read the sides, I just felt like there was a part of me that was River.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt really natural. And it was a learning experience, of course, because I didn't really know how to behave on a set or you know what it really meant to be an actor. So I made a lot of mistakes that were embarrassing, but it sort of worked for River because I had a lot of nervous energy and a lot of raw excitement for starting my career.
Yeah, perfect. It worked for the character.
So
I mean, a lot of it came
it.
through.
I just used it, and it worked, and it was a very nurturing environment. You know, everybody made me feel really safe and loved, and Joss was very sensitive about where I was in my life. So
Yeah, considering the the themes and everything of the show, to start out your first thing, and that's what you have to do, and you know, we want you to suddenly go nuts. And
yeah, it was scary. I didn't know how to behave, and my first big scene was a disaster because I didn't realize that when you come down for rehearsal, you know, they call you from your trailer and you do a rehearsal, and you sort of do it flat, especially if it's a really emotional scene. You don't necessarily
don't waste it all on it.
Full out, but I didn't know that. And after I was done, it was a scene where I jump out of the box, and I'm naked and I'm flailing around and I'm nervous, and I did it full out. And after I was done, I looked around and everybody was speechless. Like I had horrified them. And Joss came up to me and he goes, "Wow, that was wow, you know, that was really full out." And I realized then that maybe I needed to tone it down.
Yeah.
But
like you said, they talked to you how they wanted to develop Cameron and everything. So did they give you a little bit more of a heads up as the seasons progressed about where they wanted Cameron to go, or were you still more of a, you know, you got the script week to week? And
well, the thing was, when I first read the sides again, I didn't have the script, and I was very confused about the material, and I almost didn't go in. And when I did decide to go in, I really just didn't have a great idea of how to do it. I went in open and didn't realize that Josh Friedman was the one who had written it. So when I walked in and I saw Josh, I got really nervous, and I sort of did what came to me at the moment. And then when we got the script and we went down to New Mexico to film it, I tried a lot of different things, and David had me try a lot of things, and they didn't really know how human they wanted her to be. And it was really complicated because the whole idea behind Cameron was that she was supposed to be the most human version of Terminator so far, but we also needed to get the point across that she was a Terminator, and
Right.
you take advantage of the fact that I was getting to play a Terminator. So we played around with it a lot, and a lot of people noticed that it changed from the pilot to the series,
Mhm.
how I played her, and that was intentional, because we were learning as we went.
Right.
And I loved where it ended up. I loved the balance of how I was able to play her. It was really rewarding.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the series just because it really began to explore, what is alive. I mean, was Cameron just the robot, or the Terminator, or was it just programming? What's the difference between her programming and our memories, and that sort of thing.
Well, Josh said something really, really inspiring to me during the second season, when people were asking a lot of questions about, well, is she human? Does she feel things? He said, I'm less interested in Cameron exploring what it means to be human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in her exploring what it means to be a robot.
Okay.
She's her own person, and that's fascinating and mysterious on its own, and
Right.
and trying to break the molds of what that really meant.
Yeah, I think it was a little unprecedented because it wasn't. It wasn't the the Star Trek, the Data trying to be human. She was, and it was like, well, yeah, but is that alive? Is that an entity?
I really appreciate you saying that, though, because
Yeah, no,
that's
it
what
was
we
really
were going for.
It wasn't appreciated, I think.
Thank you.
A lot of the criticisms were they just wanted the rock'em sock'em robots every week,
Right.
and I'm watching this character development, and I'm thinking, no, this is what I want. This is good story,
Thank you.
For leaving you wanting more.
Yeah, well, we all wanted more. I was very heartbroken because Josh had some amazing ideas for the third season,
Mhm.
and all of the actors were really excited to dive in. But I'm finally starting to accept what happened and just really appreciate the 2 seasons that we had. And I'm glad that we didn't get cut off in the middle of our season. We got to finish season 2 and got to have a great finale.
Yeah, definitely.
That was really fun to shoot.
Yeah, it was it was fun. There's a lot of there's a few answers, sort of, or questions I should say, sort of answered.
Right.
Still, it was kind of like, I can't believe this is where they're going to stop it. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.